upon further review, I want to pose a question, because if you want to be concerned or consider their strong start not representative of anything other than their schedule, I might take it. How good is Oklahoma? Because Oklahoma is 4-0, and Oklahoma made a pretty big jump in the rankings as they continue to win. But 20-6 at Cincinnati is not individually going to inspire confidence. Now, on a micro level, I have gotten the sense, especially from the people that are really close to the team, that you've identified a couple of spots where you do believe that this Oklahoma team has gotten better. I guess, Danny, what are the Oklahoma vibes? What are you hearing from Dusty, or what do you think about where the Sooners can do? We are 2 weeks away from that Oklahoma-Texas game. Is that a game where you're looking at it? We're talking about Texas in the debate for number one team in the country. Does Oklahoma have the goods to be able to go toe-to-toe in the Red River Shootout?
I don't think so. My guy Dusty does. I mean, he's very high on the Sooners, and he's been proven right so far. He was a little bit mad at me because on our show I took Cincinnati in the points when it was over 14.5. So there was a little bit of like, oh, you got the lucky line. I'm like, no, I got the right line. They've done everything. They look great the first few weeks against subpar competition, and they make Butch Jones cry, and it's like, all right, this is great. Then that means that first road test, like real test that they had the road game against Tulsa, I think, and they've looked the part. But like, I still think they're probably a 9-win team. The win total was 9.5. I was under it. I still feel pretty good about that, and it's not a knock against them. That 9-win season is great. It's a step in the right direction. I still think they're probably just filling things out. I'm also curious to know if Dylan Gabriel, who was great against some of the lesser competition, like, is he the guy that's gonna be able to go toe-to-toe in a game like against Texas, like against some of the other competition they're gonna have to go through the rest of the season?
My questions with this team are, like, clearly the Arkansas State and Tulsa, they are fully capable of just absolutely spanking teams that they're a lot better than, and they have no fear about doing so. They have kind of struggled a little bit offensively against SMU and Cincinnati, which is a concern. But the one thing that they have done consistently week in and week out, they've played 4 games. They've allowed 34 points.
Right.
Yeah.
Defensively, they have been pretty solid. And when you think back to the Lincoln Riley years, the concerns about that team every year were defensively, they just don't exist. Brent Venables has clearly fixed that pretty quickly, or at least is still in the process of fixing it. So because of that, I think they've got a shot to beat Texas. It's just, if it gets into the situation where they have to score points, okay, I know you can do it against Tulsa. I know you can do it against Arkansas State, kind of like what we've talked about a lot with like the Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Arnold thing. Do you have the horses on offense to keep up with Texas if Texas is clicking and scoring points against you? That is what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, let's rank the quarterbacks that Oklahoma has faced so far as an exercise.
This is a good Bud's greatest hits. This is a reprise encore performance.
I think it's overwhelmingly Emory Jones, who's not a good football player. He's just fine. Like, he's like a bottom half Power 5 quarterback.
Preston Stone 2.
Preston Stone 2, who, I mean, has
I think Preston Stone might be 1.
Okay, fair, but like
More
neither
like
of these guys
etched
are top
in stone.
Power 5, right? Like, Preston Stone's not great. The Arkansas State, who's now the backup because he got beaten out, and then Tulsa's third stringer. I think Oklahoma's defense is like assignment sound. They play hard. On a down-to-down basis, SMU played with those guys in Norman. Two turnovers really kind of flipped that game on its head, which count, but are they repeatable? We'll see. Offensively, they don't really have a serious number one right now. Andrel Anthony may be that guy. Maybe I'm a little slow on the uptake there. Gabriel is a fine/good college quarterback. The better teams will challenge him to make the throws to the wide side of the field. The teams they've played so far really can't.
You know what Dylan Gabriel would be? And he is, like, he's a really good 7-on-7 quarterback. Like, he can shred you apart if he's got time.
12
that describes a lot of quarterbacks, by the way, too. Like, I mean, I think I said the same thing about Shedeur before the Oregon game. Like, if it was 7-on-7, it'd be an incredible game. And I know there's a lot of push. I just wonder if Jackson Arnold could be the quarterback finishing up the season for the Sooners. Like, if there's an opportunity, does he bring more to the table? I think clearly he does. Is he ready? Well, I think we'll have to kind of watch and see how it plays out.
You mentioned how Jackson Daly played against Arkansas, not the new quarterback, Jalen Rayner. You know who thinks Jalen Rayner is the best quarterback in the country? Southern Miss, which allowed about 5 total touchdowns to Jalen Rayner. The guy threw for like
Bombs.
3 bills, 3
Mhm.
touchdowns. He had like 2 long touchdown runs as well, 5 total TDs. Yo, that was not a good look, Southern Miss. Sorry for you, bud.
Dude, seriously. Also, Oklahoma's schedule is extremely favorable.
Yes.
Like, if Oklahoma can find a way to go 12-1, and the one's like a regular season to Texas, but they end up like somehow getting revenge on Texas in the Big 12 title game, that's a team that's going to make the playoff. I think like a 1-loss Big 12 champ probably makes the playoff this year, depending on what happens in some of the other leagues. Like, obviously a 1-loss Big 12 is going to lose out to a 1-loss Pac-12 unless that team is Texas, I think, because they'll have the win at Alabama. There's not many games that you really think they can lose.
Right.
No, they are on the road they've got Texas, and they're on the road at Kansas. And then it would only be you dropping to the level of your competition. You going to Provo in late November and corking it. Right. I mean, it would be a
That's going to be a tough game, though.
Like UCF at home with UCF's backup, who I thought UCF did a great job of scheming up, by the way. Probably shouldn't lose at home in Norman to UCF's backup, assuming Plumlee's not, or John Rice is not back by then. This schedule's a gift.
Yeah. But while we get the drive to 325 teed up, what else for upon further review stands out from the weekend?
Upon further review, we talked about Minnesota blowing it against Northwestern on the show, although none of us had seen it really until the very end on Saturday night. I went and watched it expecting to see Minnesota like committing a bunch of dumb mistakes that allowed Northwestern to get back in the game. They really didn't. Like, something happened. I don't know, like some sort of miracle in the fourth quarter. Northwestern's offense just started playing competently, snap after snap after snap, and moving the ball down the field and scoring. I can't remember the last time I saw Northwestern offense look that good.
Minnesota. Yikes.
And Minnesota's been a good defense. Like, I don't know. It was very, very strange. I was like, what the hell is happening here? But no.
Upon further, go ahead. What?
Upon further review, Cam Ward needs to be in the Heisman conversation. We might have egregiously left him out when we did our whole. Did we bring him up when we did the whole who can win the Heisman? Because he absolutely should be in the conversation with what he's doing. He's got 2 of the bigger wins of the season against Wisconsin. What he did against Oregon State Saturday night was phenomenal. His story's great coming up through the FCS ranks. He is a dynamic quarterback. He is fun to watch play.